Welcome, greetings. I'm Jed Shlackman. I work as a holistic counselor, a hypnotherapist, and energy healer. The current video is one where I'm going to explore the topic of weight loss or weight management, and I'll be sharing the web page that I have on my website that covers that topic. We're going to go to a couple of the links, the resources that I'm sharing there. Weight loss is a common concern. A lot of people are concerned about being so-called overweight or obese and how that correlates to different health problems, how it affects their body image, how other people might perceive them. And we live in a culture where a lot of people are struggling with their weight, where there are multiple factors that are causing, you could say, or creating that pattern of accumulating excess weight on the body. Some of the factors are more on the physical biochemical level, some are more on an emotional and psychological level, and kind of the bridge between those, or the medium that connects the mind and the body, is energy flow. So when our energy becomes kind of congested or stagnant or dense on the physical body, the symptom of that could show up as accumulating weight, where your metabolism is not functioning optimally and your body is going into this sort of storage or hibernation type mode where it feels it needs to accumulate to store up rather than to clear out. So I'm going to do a screen share here now, going to my website. And here we are on the weight loss page. So I start out explaining that weight loss and weight management issues are common challenges in our society. Obesity and excess weight levels, as well as related health issues, involve multiple factors. This includes the foods you consume and how your body processes them, which involves the digestive and immune systems, exercise and stress patterns, food, emotion connections, and subconscious thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. All of these factors affect the flow of energy and information through your body. If past diet and exercise programs have provided only limited or temporary results, this does not mean you can't create lasting changes in your body and your health. It's time to release barriers to your health and take charge of your wellness today. And I have a couple of videos I share there that I've posted in the past on YouTube. So if you want to go there and watch those videos later, you're welcome to. Some factors affecting weight and weight issues include hormone imbalances, stress, processed food chemicals, refined and excessive sugars or carbs, lack of vitamins and minerals, lack of essential fatty acids, weak digestion, emotional trauma, disturbed energy meridians and energy centers, lack of physical activity, food allergies and sensitivities, toxicity, subconscious thoughts and beliefs, sleep deprivation, lack of sunlight, and food addiction. So you can see there's many different variables involved, and many people will just say, okay, I've got this problem, I'm overweight. Let me pick this one thing I'm going to do that I'm told is going to fix my weight issue. Some people might just focus on physical exercise. Some might focus on a particular diet that's supposed to somehow train their body to burn fat more rather than accumulating it. Some people will take a medication because they're told the medication will change their metabolism and make their body shed weight or lose fat. And often those may have some effect in the short term, but in the long term, sometimes it ends up creating more difficulties or kind of compounding the underlying problem. For example, let's say a person decides that to lose weight, they're going to go on a kind of starvation diet or do some fasting. So when they do that, initially what's happening is they're not putting calories, they're not putting nourishment into their body, they're not giving that external source of energy. And when that happens abruptly or suddenly, the body goes into sort of an emergency mode. It's saying, oh, wow, our normal flow or source of energy is missing. Let's start using energy that we've accumulated by building up fat tissue. So fat is like stored energy in that sense. So the body starts using up those reserves. It accesses energy that way. So you do start to break down or burn up that fat and lose weight because you're consuming very little food. But now your body is going to get concerned that you might be stuck in this pattern of not getting adequate energy intake or input. And it's going to say, okay, we need to be very careful now to build up reserves anytime we do get nourishment. So any significant amount of calories or fat that you do consume, your body's going to be extra motivated to try to accumulate it and hold on to it. So then when you try to shift out of that starvation mode or fasting mode and you're eating kind of normal again, your body is going to accumulate fat even more readily than it might have before because it's actually afraid of being starved again. So in that case, in the short term, you might have seen some result breaking down and releasing fat when you started fasting or extreme dieting, but it's not sustainable. And then once you go back to trying to eat normally, the body is carrying out this program to protect itself from starvation by building up and accumulating weight. So it's going to start accumulating excess weight, perhaps even worse than it originally was before you tried to do those extreme diet or fasting interventions. Now, when people do an intervention like a GLP-1 weight loss drug, some similar things can happen. Initially, the drug is having a particular effect that could enable some weight loss. So in that case, it's slowing down your digestion. It's making you feel full quicker. And if you're following the diet guidelines, you're supposed to follow along with using that medication, then you'll start to burn up your fat reserves. You may also start to lose other sources of accumulated nourishment in your body. You might start to break down muscles. You might get deficient in some nutrients. So there's obviously risks with that. But the other thing is it's often not sustainable. Not everyone's going to be able to stay on those medications forever. Different types of adverse symptoms can develop, and then a person tries to wean off of it, and when they stop using it, their body starts to rebuild fat tissue even more quickly than it may have been building up that before they started using that medication. And you'll see the evidence that when people stop using those medicines, the weight comes right back. So it's not resolving whatever the true causes of being overweight were. It's just trying to force the chemistry to override whatever was happening to temporarily get your body to shed weight. But the core reasons you are building up excess weight aren't addressed. And if you want to have something more long-term or sustainable, you want to think differently than just going to take a drug or going on a fast or extreme diet. You want to shift patterns either in your lifestyle, how you eat and exercise and sleep and all that, where it's your normal routine, and also shifting any subconscious psychological patterns that are contributing to holding on to that excess weight. There's a variety of psychological issues that could be involved. One of them I've already mentioned, which is that sense of scarcity, that fear of not having enough, of starving. So when you're afraid of that, when you do have access to food, either you can overeat, overindulge in it, or your body can try to convert it into fat tissue, into storing energy for a time of famine. So it could be something on a literal level where your body has experienced some time period of famine or starvation, and it initiates that adaptive program of building up weight as a reserve protection against that potential for starving. But it could also be more symbolic, where there's more of like an emotional famine or an emotional neglect or starvation that your subconscious is afraid of. And food symbolizes the emotional nourishment. So your body holds on to food as a subconscious metaphor, in a sense, for receiving emotional nourishment. Food is physical nourishment, but our subconscious mind can use it in that more symbolic or metaphorical sense, representing the emotional nourishment that we might be lacking. So we want to look at our emotional patterns, our unresolved traumas, emotional issues from childhood or past relationships. Another factor with people holding excess weight is body image and appearing attractive. And this can be complex as well. There are people that have experienced sexual trauma where they got unwanted attention to their physical body, unwanted sexual attention, someone harassed or molested them, and they want to protect against that happening again. And their subconscious mind may attach to the idea that if they're overweight and look unattractive, that will keep other people away, that will protect them from that sexual interest and being sexually abused or mistreated. So there are people that appear to have become overweight as a subconscious means of adapting, you could say, to that sexual trauma, their way of trying to appear unattractive in a sense, to not have people giving them unwanted sexual attention. And what's interesting is that you can look at the opposite of being overweight, where people become anorexic or starving themselves a lot, where they're trying to maintain an unrealistic self-image of being thin, thinking that they need to be thin, they need to avoid putting on weight in order to be attractive. So there are people that were shamed for being plump or overweight as a child. They might have been teased by their peers, or they might have been criticized by family members. And for them, they become kind of overly restrictive with their eating. They become obsessed with some unrealistic idea about not putting on weight in order to be accepted, for other people to see them as beautiful or desirable. So in that case, it's not overweight, it's actually unconsciously thinking that being underweight is desirable. So there's many different forms of, quote, eating disorders, different patterns of imbalanced thinking and imbalanced eating patterns that people could start to spiral into, you could say. I find that usually there's multiple layers or levels involved in weight issues, and the psychological and energetic patterns tend to be kind of the foundation, and then that leads to or drives the actual physical behaviors, what people are actually eating, when they're eating. Are they snacking all day? Are they eating all night? Are they craving excessively the highly processed foods, foods that are designed in a sense to be addictive, to be extra stimulating or extra nourishing in terms of how they feel? Whether they're nourishing in a nutritional sense is obviously a different story. But if you're consuming concentrated sugars and fats, it feels nourishing as you consume it, but those foods often over-concentrate those energy sources of fat and sugar at the expense of providing other needed nutrition. Then there's the topic of sunlight. Sunlight is our circadian biology manager in a sense. It's triggering different hormones at different times of the day. It's a natural cycle or rhythm of activity that our body's designed to align with. So there are times of the day when it's going to be healthier for you to eat, and other times of the day when it's not so healthy to eat, times when it's ideal to rest and sleep, other times of the day where it's ideal to be exercising, to be active and moving around. So sunlight can help shape our metabolism. It's kind of a foundation in a sense for our metabolism, for our activity. And that activity includes digestion and assimilation of what we're eating and clearing out and breaking down any metabolic waste or debris that we've built up. If we're not properly clearing things out, often our body will start to build up fat tissue to store the things that we haven't cleared out or excreted. So it's like a waste storage buffer system. Your body might be holding on to things that it's going to ideally want to clear out later. But if we can get into a healthy cycle of clearing things out more proactively, our body won't need to hold on to them and accumulate them in fat tissue. So we're going to look a little more at the website, the web page on my phinsights.com site. There's a section I have of additional resources. So there are some websites and articles I link to for people to get more information about this topic. And I'm going to actually read from an article that I wrote and posted, which is available on LinkedIn. So it's called Holistic Weight Management, Emotions and Mind-Body Health. And I'll go through a list of question and answer that I created in preparation for an interview I did for a summit almost a decade ago. First, it says, provide a self-introduction and overview of your experience in helping clients manage their carb cravings. And my response was, I've worked for many years as a mental health counselor, focusing on holistic wellness approaches that integrate mind, body, and energy. In regards to weight issues, sugar metabolism, and food cravings, a major part of my practice is addressing stress and emotions that are fueling unhealthy eating habits and cravings. There are often people who are aware that they can improve their health by changing their diet and eating patterns, but they find that they have difficulty following through and they sabotage themselves. Food consumption, especially with sugar and sweets, tends to be intertwined with stress and emotional issues. Everything we eat can have a chemical effect in our body that affects hormones and neurotransmitters, our emotional states, and their chemical correlates. We often seek a short-term feeling, even when it is at the expense of our long-term well-being. Whether it is recreational or prescribed psychoactive drugs or caffeine and sugar in what we eat or drink, we may be using what we consume to compensate for our lack of skills or resources to manage our mind and emotions. Question, in your practice, what is the biggest challenge that clients face? Clients often lack the awareness of what they can do to help themselves, as well as the self-confidence and empowerment to make healthy changes. Often people are upset with themselves for failing to lose weight or manage their eating habits, while that self-judgment and lack of self-esteem and self-confidence is subconsciously feeding into the use of food for self-soothing and fulfillment. It is, in a sense, a vicious cycle that people don't know how to break free from. Question, what kind of mindset do clients have when they come to you for advice? Each person is unique, so I must explore what their mindset is, both consciously and subconsciously. Most clients come seeking some guidance to improve their health or habits, while many have some part of their being that is resistant to the needed change. Sometimes my work involves helping a person transform his or her mindset to better support healthy habits and healthy chemistry. Question, how do you handle resistance to changing this mindset? What is your strategy? This would vary depending upon the mental structures and beliefs of the client. Part of this is education and providing examples and information that brings light to a healthier mindset. I can show people real-life stories and empirical data showing how stress reduction and emotional healing methods, along with diet and lifestyle changes, produce tangible results in terms of physiological health. I also work with the subconscious mind to heal those parts which have emotional wounds that have fueled cravings and addictions. An emotionally stressed 5-year-old may naturally feast on sweets to feel better. The 50-year-old adult self may intellectually know better, but will still respond to emotional triggers with coping behavior of the 5-year-old if the issue is not integrated and healed. Question: what tips do you have for clients to change their mindset around curbing their cravings? First, recognize that it is a natural human tendency to have sugar cravings or cravings for other things that bring you desirable feelings or sensations. No need to judge yourself about having cravings. Next, realize that we all have amazing potential within ourselves to transform. Sometimes it comes from the power of our intention. Sometimes it comes from letting go of old attachments or outdated aspects of our identity. Rather than seeing yourself in a battle or struggle with cravings, focus on bringing more peace and joy into your life. Spend time in activities and relationships that are fulfilling. See more things to appreciate in life, and genuinely let go of judgments and resentments you have held toward yourself and others. As you lighten your consciousness and your energy flows more freely, cravings and addictions tend to naturally dissipate. You will become more present and able to live more consciously rather than driven by subconscious impulses and compulsions. Question: what approach do you take to manage cravings? My focus is usually on the psychological components that have fostered cravings. Clearing the psychological attachment to the craving will enable dietary and nutritional interventions to be more effectively maintained. There are a variety of psychological patterns that can foster weight gain and diabetes, and the behaviors that foster weight gain and diabetes. Ideally, I would like to help clients heal the roots of those patterns so that healthy lifestyles become natural and not a struggle. With any craving, there is a significant psychological component. One of the most popular and well-documented means of successfully overcoming cravings and unhealthy habits is applying hypnosis. Our consciousness controls our body and does so mostly from a subconscious level. If your mind is focused on something that's engrossing and engaging, you may notice that you don't have food cravings at that time. Rather than managing cravings in a direct behavioral manner, I am guiding and supporting clients with managing or mastering their minds and emotions, and as a consequence, the cravings lose their hold. Question: what are your top 3 favorite tips for the viewers? Number 1, truly and deeply love yourself. Number 2, feel your innate power and worth. And number 3, remember that you have been transforming and evolving from the moment you were born, so you can consciously transform yourself now toward your current goals or intentions. I hope that that guidance has provided some insight and inspiration to those who are watching this video. For more information, you can visit my website at phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I want to wish everyone a pleasant and wonderful day. Namaste.